good evening, good afternoon, wherever in the world and whenever you're watching this show, my show today called Stories of Serendipity and Synchronicity. And I'm just so excited to have my guests on today, Mayela MANASJIAN. MANASJIAN. I was practicing it all morning, MANASJIAN. And the show is about just the awe and wonder of life and how ever since I was a kid, I had questions and I was a doubter and I needed to be shown things. And I was always like, but why, but why, but why? And and then I noticed that things like happened that were unexplainable and that people would not be able to explain the good or the bad that was happening to me or to people. And why do bad things happen to good people? And if there is such a thing as a good person. And so life was confusing for a person like me. And so here we are with my LinkedIn Live story on Sunday. Stories on Sunday mornings, 10:30 Pacific time. And I'm just going to let my guest introduce herself, Mayela MANASJIAN. And she is right now in Berkeley to visit her daughter, but she actually lives in Mexico, but we met in California. So it's a really serendipitous story. Okay, Mayela, hi, good morning.
Hi, good morning. We're on this worldwide adventure together, aren't we?
Uh-huh.
Thank you so much, by the way, for inviting me onto your show. I'm so impressed with all the guests that you've had, and I just feel so honored to be invited as well. So just really briefly, I like to share with folks that I believe in leading my life with 3 G's: gratitude, gentleness, and generosity. And I have worked for 20 years as an environmental scientist and an advocate in local government to protect our environment for the benefit of all current and future generations. Now, that has nothing that in no way explains what I'm doing now as the executive director of a meditation retreat center, and we'll get into that. But that is my current role. I'm also the chief environmental optimist of the MANASJIAN consultancy, and I host a podcast called Tiny Climate Challenge, in which Joan will be featured in an upcoming episode.
which we recorded in Coronado, California.
That's right, during COVID.
During COVID.
Yes, so that was a fun conversation, and I can't wait to bring that to you. I also just want to share that I've served on a variety of boards, all dedicated to, and I love alliteration, by the way, engaging, educating, and empowering our communities on critical environmental issues. So I can't wait to get into this conversation today to talk about how we bring all the different skills that we have together and how they manifest themselves in our lives in different ways. So thank you, Joan. And thank you, everyone, for being here with us live. So fun.
Well, I want to let you know, I don't know if you know this, Mayela, but we are live on LinkedIn, of course, YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook.
Wow. Do you know you're the only person that I've ever gone live with? And speaking of first, because I believe it's so important, like, you know, we get in these habits of wanting to do things that we feel comfortable with or the same things every day. But I've never been on Twitch before, so.
Well, you know, it's weird when we're live, I can't see how many people are watching on LinkedIn or Facebook, but I can see who's on YouTube and Twitch. And there's usually 1 to 4 people on YouTube and 1 or 2 on Twitch. So I'm always like, wow, someone found me on Twitch. Because Twitch was originally developed for gamers. So mostly gamers use it, but now they're expanding to other things. So my coach told me, get on there. There's not very many coaches. So that's where I am.
And I love that you, as a coach, have a coach.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Very important.
Oh my gosh. So important. So important. So We both started at the city of Encinitas about the same time, maybe give or take 6 months, less than a year, I think. And
Seems so long ago.
seems like a lifetime ago. And we would just cross paths in our daily trips back and forth to get a cup of coffee or whatever. And we just really started this immediate connection. And I was fascinated by Mayela. Well, one of the things, check this out, I'm remembering now. I was with a guy at the time that was my, I just want to give a shout out to anyone who's in this situation, like break up, we're on, we're off, we're on, we're off, we're on, we're off. Just get, I shouldn't give any advice, but I had that one. And Mayela came in my office one time, and again, I was bitching. All I did was complain, I feel like. And Mayela said, have you, you know what? You should look into Dr. Pat Allen. And I said, oh my gosh, I'm studying under her right now. I'm studying her methods right now. So I feel like there's so many moments of serendipity and synchronicity in our relationship. And Dr. Pat Allen is a relationship expert, and she's in Orange County, and which is a little north of San Diego. And she has a different view of life, and she believes in like the yin and the yang, which I really do too, especially in a relationship, that we're going to be moving around the circle of the yin and the yang. And I like that about life too. And anything you want to say about Dr. Pat Allen or that synchronicity that happened with us?
Yeah. I love Dr. Pat Allen, first of all. And I completely forgot that I popped into the office and I don't know why I mentioned her. I mean, obviously, it was very, very influenced by her, but maybe we'd had a conversation about your on-off relationship or something. But in any case, all I remember is you used to have these incredible bouquets of flowers delivered to your office, and they would always just, I would just walk by and I would be like, oh my gosh, like those are gorgeous. And then Joan's being very humble too. There was a point at time in which you started graduate school and you just really started to flourish and exude this like incredible light. And every time I would see you, I love that you shared that you said you were fascinated by me, because I am equally fascinated by you. And I just thought, I don't know what is in her Kool-Aid, but I want some of that. So it was just to see your transformation over those few years that you were in your graduate program was just remarkable. So I think there's a lot of things that kind of pulled us together. But yeah, I guess you're right. It started with Dr. Pat Allen.
Well, isn't it interesting? I'd like to make a comment on what you're saying, is that, and I tell the people that I coach, I specialize in first-time leaders, but I coach all over the spectrum. I coach people in the C-suite. I coach people all over the spectrum. But I tell my people, everyone's watching you. So good morning, Bernard. Thank you for tuning in. Bernard tries to come to my shows on Sundays and Tuesdays. So I tell my clients, everyone's watching you. So if you have a client that is continually late, not that I would know anything about being late, because but I have a late problem. But we're not talking about me right now. You know, I feel like the clients that are sent to me are like when I'm telling them my ideas, that the words are bouncing off the screen and bouncing back to me like, hey, that'd be a good idea if you tried that. You know, so and you don't do anything about it, people are watching you.
Yep.
And if you handle it badly, people are watching you, you know, so just not in the fact of like wanting to criticize you, but some people are very into things should be fair and equal at all times. And in the workplace, that can be a little difficult.
And may I add to that, on the topic of people are watching you, it's all the good things that you do and all the
absolutely
all the accolades that people are watching that too.
Mm-hmm.
And that's frankly how I ended up in a lot of the situations, because people go, oh my gosh, you're so accomplished. Like, you know, you're on a leadership panel with former Vice President Al Gore. And, you know, like last summer, I was the master of ceremonies for a climate conference that he offered for 6,000 people worldwide. I didn't ask for any of those things, but it was because of the work that I've been doing that have led me to that moment. And people have been paying attention. And I'm just doing what I do, but it's good to know, good or bad, right? I mean, I guess it's not good to know, but it's important to know, to be aware that people are watching you.
You know, I'm really glad that you brought in the good and the bad. Well, dealing with the employee could be good or bad, depending upon how you do it. So, and I have mentored so many people. I have hired so many people that have, you know, benefited from my schooling, well, let me tell you what I learned to do in this situation, you know, and coming from a place of, you mentioned your core values. So in our master's degree, we really learned what our core values were, and we're told to lead by them. And in every area of your life, I remember the first time I taught that class at Encinitas, I was like, my values don't change. If I'm at the grocery store, if I'm in a board meeting, my values are the same. And so what do you think about, you told us yours were gratitude, gentleness, and generosity. Do you think that there's like a work value or a work person and at home person? I mean, yes, we put masks on. Sometimes we have to, or the language we use could be different. You know, I probably would speak much more casually to my friends or my kids than I speak on here.
Right.
And so,
yeah, no, that's a great question. And for me, they're the same. My personal core values are the same, whether I'm in a professional setting or whether I'm in just my own home. So, and I joked yesterday on my social media, I said, come join us for this event today to come learn about what it takes to be a spiritual gangster. Now, a lot of people might be asking themselves, what is a spiritual gangster? Well, you know, anybody can describe it, I guess, however they choose. But for me, it's about expressing and manifesting gratitude, gentleness, and generosity. So let me just briefly kind of lay it out and how it applies to my environmental work, because I think a lot of times people are confused. They're like, it sounds good, but like, how does it actually manifest itself? So for me, gratitude is the ground of all. So that's the groundwork, right? It's important, especially as an environmental activist or an environmentalist, or as a person, as a human being on this earth, to be grateful for all of the gifts that we have been given. And so I always start off when I do presentations, I ask people to imagine, like, just close your eyes for 1 second. And I want you to think about all of the things that you love, all the people that you love, all of the things that you love that you have here on earth, all of the gifts that you have received. And, you know, any number of things will come to mind, right? Your parents, your partner, your children, your pet, your favorite hiking spot, surf spot, whatever, chocolate, you know, all of those gifts are found here on this earth, nowhere else, nowhere else. I mean, in the future, we'll have the ability to go to Mars maybe, but right now, this is it. This is our one and only home. So it's so important to just remember every day, you know, that all the things that we love and cherish, all of our hope and dreams found here on earth, and to be grateful for that.
you know, it's interesting. I want to interrupt you for a second because you said gratitude is the groundwork, and that's another G. Anyway, there you go.
Right. Yes.
And Bernard says gratitude equals greater appreciation in life.
Absolutely. And so we have gratitude as the ground, and then the path in which I walk is gentleness. Now, some people get a little confused about what does that mean, gentleness. So it's another way of saying compassion or kindness. But, I love alliteration, so I had to have a G in there. So gentleness. And I feel so strongly that we have to learn to be gentle with ourselves, first and foremost, beyond. And we hear this all the time, right? Self-love. And as an environmentalist, it's true. We're constantly extending ourselves outwards, trying to take care of everybody else. But what are we doing to take care of ourselves? This is hard work. It can feel overwhelming. There's new words to describe our experiences and our mental state of being now, eco anxiety. So it's really important that we learn to become gentle with ourselves first and foremost. And then when we're able to learn to do that, we're able to extend that gentleness, that compassion out to other people. So our family, our relationships at work, the community in which we live in, or that, we're trying to help everyone on the planet.
And then you exude it.
Yeah. Yes. Because your
it's like
experience.
It's an energy
Right.
and a light that comes out. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I also just want to say, I'm talking a lot about people, but our planet has, it's not just about focusing on people. Really interesting aside, my daughter just got her master's degree. She's in environmental health science, and her background is in public health. And her name is Mayela also. And so people always go, oh, the apple didn't fall far from the tree. And my degree is in environmental science, so no emphasis on people. So I always laugh and say, well, that's true. However, I consider her to be the better, smarter Mayela, because she actually cares about people. I just care about the planet.
I have to tell you that's not true, but I 100% hear what you're saying. And what a great time to be in public health.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh.
Oh
yeah,
my gosh.
We just
must be so exciting.
For those of us who are tuned in right now, we've all just survived, one of the greatest public health crises.
Hopefully it's not going to come back or whatever. Yeah.
But in any case, so yeah, we need, so it is about the people too, but it's also about, I started off as a marine biologist. That was my interest. I was interested in marine mammals and saving the ocean. And when I met you at the city of Encinitas, I was working as a environmental scientist doing water quality monitoring. And so
cool. I just thought your job was so cool.
It was cool. It was very cool. I really enjoyed that job. But over the years, I've shifted more into, really coming back to what my purpose is and what I can do to be of greater benefit to others, because it's not just about me. Like when you're concerned about taking care of the planet, you have to. There's this. It's not a saying. There's when we dedicate our practice, our meditation practice, we say, that we would like all beings everywhere to be happy and free. So yes, that includes the people, but it also includes all sentient beings, all the critters that live on the planet, and everyone. So in any case, that's compassion, that's kindness, that's gentleness for you. And my last G, generosity, is all about fruition. So we have the ground, the path, and the fruition, and it's all about how you manifest, or how I personally manifest my core values. And so that is all of the things that I do to give back, recognizing all of the gifts that I've received. So gratitude, finding ways to live a more gentle, compassionate life with myself, with others, with the planet. And, and then finding ways that I can continue to give back. Because it's not just about taking, right? It's also about giving. It should be more about giving than just taking. So, there's the I always would tell my daughter when we were younger, and we would go to the beach, let's leave this place better than how we found it. And I feel like that's just true in general of our lives. Like, we're only here for a certain amount of time, so let's try and do everything we can to leave our planet better than how we found it.
Mm-hmm.
And you see that happening. There's a lot of environmental justice movements taking place. There's a lot of social justice movements taking place right now. There's a lot of awakening that's going on. It's triggering, sometimes painful, but also really exciting, and just inspiring to see. So, and I just want to make clear that with generosity, because a lot of times people think like, oh, it's about giving money, to your favorite nonprofit, which is true. It can be in that form. But I always tell people that the greatest gift that we can give to one another is our time. Because once you give your time to something, you don't get it back. You can generate more money. You can always generate more work. But you can't. This is the life that we've given us. And we don't know how long our lives are going to be. Hopefully, they're very, very long and successful and joyful. But so time is precious. And so I always tell folks, give your time to somebody else, to mentor somebody else, to help clean up your neighborhood, somebody else's neighborhood, your local beach. Give your time to volunteer for nonprofit organizations. They need so much help, love, and assistance. Give your time wherever you can. And then obviously, give your money too, if you have means and you're able to do that. Find ways to give. Another one that we don't talk about that much is listening, which is what we're talking to one another today. We're listening to each other. We have folks who've joined us today who are listening to us. That is such a generous gift. Just the mere act of listening to one another. So find ways to be generous. There's tiny ways and then there's larger ways. And so, people often say, well, like, I don't have any means to be generous. And you'd be surprised. Listening is just such an incredibly generous act. So, those are the 3 G's. That's how to be a spiritual gangster.
I love it. I love it. And Bernard says social responsibility.
Yes, absolutely.
It reminded me of something, and it's gone, but what I did write down was Quiet. Have you heard of the book Quiet?
No.
Quiet is a book for introverts.
I was going to say, it describes my whole life.
Hey, here's Jeffrey from he currently works as a planner in Encinitas.
Oh,
Leave
yeah.
It better,
we love Jeffrey.
Leave it better than when you found it is one of my core beliefs. But why is it a difficult concept for others? I'm gonna jump in here and tell you, Jeffrey, on most days, I'm gonna say 85, maybe 90% of the time, I have both my feet on the balance beam, and I'm a spiritual gangster, as Mayela was saying. And there's other times when I'm like, are you kidding me? You just threw it. Where are you from? You just threw like a drink out the window on the freeway, and I don't know. It makes me enraged.
Yes.
And so why is it difficult for others to get that concept? Let's see what Bernard and hey, Bill, let's see what Bernard and Bill type in your answer to Jeffrey's question of why is it difficult? Why is it a difficult concept for others? Mayela, answer that, please, if you want to.
Sure. I mean, the way I look at it is that we're all on the me plan. We're born into this world thinking it's all about me, me, me. And we wake up every day like, how am I going to get through the day? What are the things that I'm going to do to make life comfortable for me? And I'm not saying that as a bad thing. I mean, we all have egos. So until we learn to deal and address with our egos, we're all just on this me plan. And I think that's until we learn to become more aware of ourselves, to become more mindful of our me plan, we're just going to continue on that path, right? And so I find that breaking through my own ego, because you can't help other people unless you begin to work with yourself, is what allows me to then connect with other people. So when I see other people, like that person who throws their trash out the window or whatever, it's upsetting, but I'm working on being less judgmental. And let me just explain this in a little different way. Let me just illustrate this a little differently. I was watching social media is just so interesting because everybody is on their me plan, expressing all their rants and raves, and and sometimes I just wonder, like, how helpful is this? But in any case, I'm a part of it, and I'm on there along with everybody else. And so I remember one day watching a video of a family, a poor family in Central America. And I don't remember like what country it said it was, but there's a video of a river of trash. And there's this family with all their little kids standing at the riverbank, and they're watching all this trash, plastic pollution and all this trash just flowing down the river. And I mean, it was a rapid river. And I remember watching this video getting so angry, so upset. Like, how could they just stand there watching this go by? This is just horrible. Like, what horrible people that they trashed their country, and now they're just standing there watching it all go by. And then I had a moment of where I checked in with myself, and I was like, wow, well, like, if we're being really honest with ourselves, I thought, oh, it's not just them. It's me too. I'm complicit in this because I buy plastic, right? Look, here's my iPhone. I buy things. Look at this plastic pen that I have. I buy plastics. And so I'm part of that problem. It's not just them. It's not them. It's all of us. We're all interconnected, living on this planet together. And so then I was able to diffuse my anger and start to have more compassion. And again, start being more conscientious of, is this the world that I want to be living in? So coming back to me, what is my role and my responsibility? So it's really easy to point the finger at somebody else. It's you. But it takes more effort and honesty to really look at oneself and see what we're doing and how we can change and how we can be part of the solution. So I don't know if that answers Jeff's question, but that's my approach.
And I wanted to add to that especially if you are involved in the media or you watch the media, I have stopped watching the news, oh my God, years ago. So I'm often uninformed. But there's a saying that says what you focus on grows. And, my sister said, people on the freeway are always cutting me off. And I'm like, okay, look around how many hundreds, if you're in California, thousands of cars are on this road, and one person went through the stop sign. One person did this, one person did that. And so sometimes I have to, maybe it's living in a fantasy world, which I have been accused of doing, but to just go, wow, look at all these other people who aren't doing it.
And there's a spiritual practice that I heard once, a spiritual leader shared, that when you're in that place, when you're stuck in traffic and there's, some jerk cut you off, or you're just frustrated because you're not moving as quickly as you would like, we should always be thinking of the other person and saying to ourselves, and this is something that, you know, as a Buddhist, if you want to, you can say, I hope that person reaches enlightenment before I do.
Before you do. Wow.
Yeah, because they're ahead of you, right? And you're stuck behind them or what have you.
Okay.
Yeah, so I hope that person reaches enlightenment before I do.
I remember what I wanted to say when you talked about time is the gift of time for someone to actually sit with me, make an appointment with me and listen. But I remember one time my kids were really little and we were sitting at the dining room table and we were just having fun and laughing and just having a great time. And my son, who had to be maybe 6, said, "This is family future." And I said, "Family future?" And then I knew what he meant. Like at that moment, we're creating memories for the future. At this moment, we're planting seeds for the future. And I just, so we still sometimes when we're together, we'll be like, this is family future. Like, I want to remember this moment. Like you said, the money's going to be gone. This is going to be gone. You know, you might not live, you might not have the clothes you have, you know, but you have that memory. You had that special time, which I don't know much about. I'm not a scientist, but I swear it like moves the neurons around in your brain and you walk away as a better person that day, emanating an energy of, just like you said, gratitude, gentleness, and generosity, of just like, wow, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. So many times in the past year and more, right? I hate whenever I say that, oh, right now is such a hard time. Like people have been dealing with really bad things for a long time. Poof, gone what I was going to say to that. But, you know, bringing the gentleness and the kindness and the listening, like you said, yeah, to someone that needs our help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's funny. You said poof, I lost that. And then I lost my poof.
Uh-huh. So, all right, I remember something I want to talk about, but the book is quiet. I want to remember to tell you the book is quiet, and it talks about, I have it here, I can go get it. It talks about the let me just look it up on Amazon. It talks about the strength of being quiet. It talks about the strength of introverts and how we have always, not always, but that people overlook it, don't appreciate it.
Yeah.
The power, check this out, you'll love this. The power of introverts in a world that can't stop talking.
I love that. It's so true.
Mm-hmm.
I consider myself an introvert, and I know people find that really surprising. But I've learned, I call myself an ambivert because you know, what we prize and celebrate in our society are extroverts. And if you want to get ahead, if you want to be, you know, again, celebrated, you know, it's important to learn to be extroverted. And so I'm my introvert self, but I, you know, have learned to become more extroverted. But it's always exhausting. It's always, I mean, I find, you know, like my energy level just completely depleted.
That's what they say is the difference. Yeah, that you're just exhausted.
Yeah. Yeah. There was something that I would like to share. And maybe, is there a way to put links out? Because I have a YouTube video that I think would be great to share, and I'm trying to find it right now.
I can do it. I know, because you're going from one device to another, right?
Yeah, let's see.
And I have, if you tell me what it is, I'll find it on the internet and then I can copy and paste because I'm on the same thing. Okay,
great. So it's on the topic of listening, on the topic of gentleness. And it's so interesting because I recently went to meet a author. No, he's not an author. Sorry, a lithographer. And he's a printer, basically. And he focuses in the old-fashioned way of printmaking. So today everyone gets on their computer and you send your whatever document to the printer and done. But this is like with an old, like Benjamin Franklin, I think that's what they're called, like printing press. And he lives in Mexico, and he's just a fascinating individual. And so I had some friends of mine who invited me. They said, we want you to meet him. Like this man is so interesting. And so, of course, I always love meeting interesting people and having interesting conversations. And so we went, and
While you're telling this story, I'll look it up. What is his name? Or
his name is Juan, Juan Pascoe, Pascoe. And he's Mexican American, but he has dedicated the last 40 years to living his life in Mexico. And in any case, they had met him before, so they knew his life story, but I had never met him. And so I just started asking him questions like, so, tell me about yourself. And, I'm also a podcast host, and it just doing interviews, by the way, did not come naturally to me. Some people are really great at it. And people always ask me, and I'm kind of going all over the place right now, but I'll bring you back full circle. I always tell people, like, don't listen to my first 2 episodes, just skip to like number 3 and go from there, because you learn you get better as you go on. But in any case, when I was sitting there, meeting Mr. Pascoe, Master Pascoe, Maestro Pascoe, I just asked basic questions, and then I just shut up. I didn't interject with, what did you mean? Or I didn't interject with talking about myself while he was trying to talk about himself, which is what a lot of times we mostly do because we're trying to find connection with people.
I'm waiting to talk. I'm not really listening. I'm waiting for my time to talk. Yeah.
Exactly. And we're on the me plan. We're like, oh,
right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah. And my experience and what have you. This man told us things about his life that my friends who already knew him had never heard before. When I looked over at them, because they were sitting on a couch off to the side where I was sitting, their faces were just in awe. Like they were just, how did you get all these things out of him? We'd never heard these stories before. Oh my God, he's even more fascinating and exciting than we knew, And so I just said, I just asked some simple questions, and then, I just listened. But I told them, I said, there's a secret to this. And it's all about, there's 4 qualities of gentleness. So are you ready for this? I told you we're going to come all the way around. And this is my YouTube video and the link that I'm going to give you. And if you just Google Mayela MANASJIAN 4 qualities of gentleness, you'll get this video, because this I actually got to share with former Vice President Al Gore when I was on a leadership panel with him. So the first one is to just be open. Be open, be present in the moment, which is what we're doing here. We're having an open conversation. We're being present. I'm in a hotel room. I have other things to do today. I'm not worried about those right now. I'm here with you. And then be open to the other person or people and their experiences and who they are. So again, it's not about you. It's not about being on the me plan. It's about the person that you're speaking to. And when I shared these tips with these 4 qualities of gentleness with Mr. Gore, it was in response to a question that he asked me about how do I connect with audiences on the topic of climate change? Because as we know, for some people, it's very complicated.
Like our
Oh,
I called up your video. Oh, okay, sorry.
Okay, so that's
hang on a second.
That's the first quality. Be open. The next quality. Do you want me to hang on?
Sorry about that. I found the video, then it started playing, so I could get the link to put it in here.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Sorry about that.
No worries. So the next quality is curiosity. So it's really important for us to be curious about our own lives and who we are and what we're doing, so that we can then be curious about the people that we're talking to. And we can then relate to them based on this space of being entirely open and curious to who we are, right? Things change every day. Who I was yesterday is not the person that I am today, and the person that I'm going to be tomorrow. We'd like to think,
hopefully,
continuity there, but we have the opportunity to change this at any moment. So that's why I say, like, be curious, because some days we're going through something completely different than what we experienced yesterday. And so we're coming from a completely different place. So that's number 2, is the quality of being curious. Number 3 is sensitivity. Being sensitive to what is happening, and what the other person could be going through. And that our environment changes too. Not only do we change, but our environment is continuously changing around us, right? So, earlier I mentioned that we're going through incredible movements of social justice and environmental justice. That shapes who we are. We shape the world, and the world shapes us, right? And so it's really important to be sensitive to those things as well when we're listening to somebody, when we're practicing gentleness. And then lastly, how we connect with other people, because this is all happening. These first 3 are, mostly happening internally in your mind, right? So let's recap. So there's being open, there's being curious, and there's being sensitive. And then lastly is vulnerability. And so that is the ability to touch into our tender heart and being able to extend that out to others, to everyone in our lives. And, again, we do that through just being present, through sitting with someone. There's so many different ways that we can, it's about being honest. If you're curious about your own life, if you're open, you're present, you're being sensitive, you're being honest, you're much able to drop down into your heart center and feel that vulnerability. And express it. So those are the 4 qualities to gentleness that I find have been really helpful and throughout my career and just in my life, in my personal and professional relationships.
Well, what's interesting is that people always tell me the same thing, like, oh my God, that person, or I'll just meet someone at the grocery store and they start telling me about their son's in rehab or their father died or something. I'm like, whoa, people tell me like crazy intimate stuff. And I'm wondering, I'm going to phrase it as a question, because you have these as your sub values or subcategories that you exude it, and people are attracted to you and feel safe because of your vulnerability and your sensitivity, and you're approaching it with curiosity, like, tell me more, instead of like, we don't do it like that anymore. We don't say that. We don't wear those clothes, blah, 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 blah. We don't do our hair like that anymore. Whatever it is, you're like curiosity, and to be open-minded to, there could be another way. Yeah. So that gives people time to, or permission to approach your safety net, so to speak. But can you believe we've been on here for 45 minutes?
It's so fun.
It's so much fun. You have to come on again, because I need you to come on my leadership show.
Okay.
And then we didn't really talk, and I just want to talk about, it reminds me of these things, is that we both were raised Catholic, and then Mayela is currently practicing, I don't know, we say that practicing Catholics, but practicing Buddhist, which means actually meditates. There's a lot of people that say, I'm a Buddha. I'm a Buddhist, and they don't know the first thing about it. Like, I basically only know what you tell me and little bit that I read. So when they're talking about different churches or whatever and saying, it's all about focus on suffering and this and that, I'm going to become a Buddhist. I'm like, the first tenet of Buddhism Life is, there's suffering. But anyway, we didn't get to talk about the center. We didn't get to talk about so many things. But can we spend a few minutes talking about how did you ever get to be the executive director of a Shambhala retreat center in like rural, not known part of Mexico? I mean, of course, people do know Páscuaro, but it's not like Puerto Vallarta or La Paz or something like that. So do you want to tell us just a few minutes about how you got there and tell us about the center? And
absolutely. And by the way, I didn't even know of Pátcuaro. I didn't know Pátcuaro existed, like up until I was hired to be the director there. I couldn't even pronounce the name properly. People kept correcting.
And you speak Spanish, so I'm in trouble.
Pátcuaro. So, yeah, it's fascinating. I mean, I spent my entire life as an environmental scientist, an activist, but always, and you're right, I grew up Catholic, but I always had a thing for, this is kind of a little admission here, a little secret. I always had a thing for Buddhist boys. And so I blame my college sweetheart for this. He practiced meditation, and he always just had this serenity about him that I was like, and and we talked about this earlier, like when you see people that have these qualities, you're just like, I want some of that, like whatever they're doing,
right.
like, I want that. I need to clarify really quickly though, because I've been talking a really big game about my 3Gs, and I want to clarify, I want everybody to know that they are my 3Gs, not because I'm perfect at them, but because I strive to be better at them. So I just want to be clear. And there are times that I'm not always manifesting like these 3Gs, and I know it. And I go, you know what? Today is a new day. This is a new moment, a time to be.
Nobody's watching me right at this moment. Yeah.
Oh, sometimes they are, and I have to get real with myself, and but it's okay. It's okay. Like every moment is a new opportunity to be better. But in any case, so I always had an admiration for folks who practice meditation and who are Buddhist. And it just, I wanted to know more about it. But it wasn't until I met my husband, Paul MANASJIAN, who I'm married to now. He was a Buddhist when I met. He was practicing meditation. He's been practicing for a long time. And he said, if you want to learn more about this, I'm happy to teach you. I'm happy to introduce you to folks. And so that's how I became a Shambhala Buddhist, because Shambhala is it's a nonprofit organization with 200 meditation centers worldwide. And I started practicing 15 years ago. Now, I did not actually become a Buddhist until last year. Not a lot of people know that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I thought I could just say I'm a Buddhist.
No. Well, you could, but until you take a vow, you're not technically a Buddhist. So until you take your Buddhist vow. So I did that last year because I felt like, as the director of a meditation center, and my husband is and has taken his Buddhist vow years ago, so he already was a Buddhist. But I decided, it's really important for me to take this next step. Everybody is on their own path and on their own journey of their spiritual growth. And so in any case, because I had the experience of being practicing meditation, because I had gone to graduate school and gotten my master's degree in executive leadership, because I am brown, Latinx, and speak fluent Spanish, I'm bilingual. All of these things came together at this opportunity to become the director of Casa Huerma. I wasn't looking to become the director of Casa Huerma. I never imagined myself as a director of a meditation retreat center. I didn't grow up saying one day I'd like to be, it was never a part of my plan, but yet here I am. And what I love is that in some way, shape, or form, I felt like I had always been fighting to be accepted. as who I am fully, completely, and always trying to fit myself in, you know, and then maybe just like, you know, hiding parts, masking parts. It's like you said, you know, changing how you speak. And when now I feel like I can fully express who I am, and that it's acceptable, and that people see me for who I am, and that they appreciate it, and that I am serving in a role where I can be of greater benefit to everyone on the planet. So that's how it all came together. It's
Wow.
that one ex-boyfriend in college. Actually, I have to give the credit to my mother. She raised me Catholic, and I remember after I did my first communion, not too long after, I started asking her questions about, like, why is there so much suffering in the world? You know, if God exists, like, why are we having all these wars? And, you know, why just, and she just said to me, she said, you know what? She said, I have gotten you this far, and I'm not sure that I can honestly answer all of your questions. And so she said, she set me free. She said, please go out on your own and feel free to explore other religions, other faiths. And if you find the answer, come back and let me know. When and if you find the answer, come back and let me know. So that's kind of what set me off. I was about 12 years old at that point.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
She's like she's definitely a spiritual gangster.
She totally is. Yeah. Yeah. So she gave me, you know, it's like you're saying, permission to be great is granted. Permission to just be free and to go out there and figure out truth, your own truth, whatever that is for you.
Exactly. Let me just acknowledge people that are here before we go. Bernard, thanks for coming. Jeff, thanks for showing up. You and I need to talk one of these days. Bill, how are you doing? I think Bill's in Pittsburgh, and he said at one point while you were talking, my son is an Eagle Scout, and their mantra is always leave a place better than you found it. Yeah. And then Bill says, I don't smoke, but I can't stand how a lot of smokers throw their butts out the window. Oh my gosh. I had an argument. I have a sister that's a smoker. I had a big argument with her one time when she like threw a butt out. I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, that's litter. She's like, no, it's not. And here's the crazy part with my job in code enforcement that I did for so many years. Recently up in the Bay Area, we helped with a cleanup. We cleaned up this area, and the thing we picked up the most was cigarette butts. Yeah. I mean, thousands in just like probably a 4 square block area, thousands and thousands and thousands of cigarettes. Yeah. So.
Wait, can I tell you, I did a spiritual gangster thing that was really more gangster than spiritual, but so I'm with you. Was that Brad that said that?
Yeah, Bill.
Sorry. Okay, I'm with you, Bill. So every once in a while, like we do things.
Oh no, wrong one.
Yeah, Bill Bradford. Okay, that's why I thought his name. So we do things that surprise ourselves, like that are just kind of like, you know, it's almost like we're programmed to do things in a certain way. And then every once in a while we just like do something completely errant. And we're like, where did that come from? So I was walking down the street in Pátcuaro, and we're lucky in the US. I've learned to appreciate so many things about, you know, we complain a lot in the US about all the things that we don't appreciate or like, which is fine. But then when you move to another country, you realize we're actually pretty, like, in terms of environmental activism, like we're actually pretty advanced. So in any case, I'm walking down the street in Pátcuaro, and, you know, it's just one of those things where like sometimes you think like this just is happening to you. Like there's for a reason. And a guy throws a cigarette butt out the car window. He's pulling out of a driveway. He's in the passenger seat, and he flicks his cigarette butt out the window. And the cigarette butt lands right in front of me. Nobody else. It lands right in front of me. And so what are you going to do? It's like, are you going to ignore it? Are you going to see it? Are you, you know? And so of course I was like, no. So I picked it up and I tapped on his window, And this is just like 6 months ago. I tapped on his window. He rolls his window down, and I threw it back in the car at him. And I said, "You dropped this." I said, "Excuse me, you dropped this." And so it's not part of my script. I would never do that ever. And I don't know why in that moment I felt like I needed to do that. I guarantee you he will think twice about ever flipping a cigarette butt out the window again.
That's very brave. I feel like as I get older, I get so much less brave. Like I know 20 years ago, I would have been like, yo, I would put my Philly on and go, hey. And now I'm just like kind of afraid. I'm more afraid of getting physically hurt or something when I confront somebody. So I'm glad.
I do it in an aggressive way. I did it in a matter-of-fact way. Like, excuse me, you dropped this. And I like tossed it. I didn't go like, ah. I wasn't like violent throw. Like I just tossed it back at him.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I'm so glad you're okay.
Yeah. I know.
So glad you're okay.
Not by any means telling folks they should go out and do this guerrilla style of environmental activism. But you know, it's every moment just calls for, sometimes we surprise ourselves. And
come on, you're like, seriously, it's right. Like,
I'm like, you tossed that cigarette butt at the wrong lady today.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, this is so fun because I had no idea what was going to come out today, what questions you were going to ask, what I was going to say, but it's just been such a fun time.
It's so fun.
And to be perfectly honest, I told Joan, I was like, how long is this? And she said, oh, you know, it could be 45, an hour. I was like, okay, well, let's just go 30 minutes and see where we're at. And here we are at the hour, still laughing our, can we say A's off?
Because I sent you a private chat about a half hour saying, hey,
oh yeah,
you were just talking.
It's fun. I didn't even read it.
Exactly. All right. Well, then we can close up, and thank you so much. We'll put the link to Casa Worma in LinkedIn.
Yes. And before we go, though, we need to mention your program at Casa Worma.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to be teaching a class that I basically teach at the beginning of each new year. It's about saying goodbye to last year and hello to this year. And we write letters that never get sent, and about forgiveness and hopes and dreams and manifesting them. And so this is a whole nother part of me that goes with Sunday. And then on Tuesday, I'm very serious with my business show. Well, I don't think I can ever really be totally serious, but yeah, so it's really cool. It's going to be at Mayela's retreat center called Casa Worma, WERMA, and it's .org, and it's a weekend retreat. Yeah.
I can't.
Oh my gosh, it's going to be fantastic.
We did a virtual version of this
last year. Yeah, this year.
But just to be able to come together in person again, it's going to be so special. And you're just such a wonderful teacher, mentor, person. Like I'm just so grateful for you and everything that you do, Joan, and everything all the light and the love that you bring into our world. So
thank you. Thank you. All right, everyone. We'll see you next week, hopefully.
And thank you to all of you who joined us today. It was so much fun. Let's stay connected on LinkedIn. Yes. And come on down to Casa Worma.
Exactly.
Casa Worma Casa.
Bye for now. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.